Welcome to part 2. A surprising number of Claude Code is not working for me. Stories trace back to the first hour. People install with the wrong package manager. They click past the project trust dialog without reading it. They open with, "Tell me everything about this project," and watch the context window crater on the first prompt. They never learn the 4 keystroke habits that make every later session faster. This chapter is the unrushed first hour. By the end of it, you will have installed cleanly, run your first session, learned the 5 prompts that work on any codebase, memorized 5 commands, and mastered the 1 keystroke that runs the entire permission system. One rule runs underneath all of it. Verify before you trust. There is one idea threaded through this whole hour, so we name it now. Verify before you trust. Verify your install before you assume it works. Read the trust dialog before you accept it. Review every diff before you approve it. Glance at the status bar before you send a non-trivial prompt. Claude Code is an agent that takes real actions on your machine, and the developers who get the most out of it are the ones who built the verification habit on day 1. Almost everything that goes wrong in someone's first week traces back to a verification step that got skipped. Make the rule your default posture, not a chore. It is the habit that lets you safely hand an agent more and more autonomy over time. Anthropic's recommended path is the native installer. Not npm, not yet, and there is a reason. The native installer drops a single signed binary at .local/bin/claude on Mac OS or Linux, and the equivalent path on Windows. No Node.js dependency, no shell wrapper indirection. Most important, it auto-updates in the background. The benefit is when open Claude Code tomorrow, and you are already on the latest release. That alone is worth choosing the native path over every alternative. Homebrew, Winget, the apt and DNF repositories, and npm all work. None auto-update for you. 2 warnings on npm. Never run sudo npm install-g because it creates permission errors that are annoying to clean up, and never run npm update-g because it respects the original seam-ver range and can strand you on an old version. These are the correct commands. On Mac OS, Linux, or Windows Subsystem for Linux, you curl the install script and pipe it to bash. On Windows PowerShell, you use the IRM and IEX pair to do the same thing. Then comes the step the rule demands. Do not assume the install worked. Prove it. Claude --version confirms the binary is on your path. Claude Doctor runs the real check, authentication status, terminal compatibility, plugin marketplace connectivity, the works. Run it once after install. Run it again anytime something feels off. If you have used Claude Code before, run which-a Claude first. More than one line of output means you have conflicting installs, and the native binary is the keeper. Look at the install paths laid out as a decision tree. The native installer is the default for almost everyone. npm is situational, useful if you already manage node tooling. The system repositories, apt, DNF, and a PK are the right answer for fleet deployments where IT wants everything to go through their package manager. Homebrew and Winget are clean, but you upgrade by hand. All of them download the same signed binary, and all of them get verified the same way. Claude --version and Claude Doctor. Pick one path, then prove it worked. Let's go through the whole first hour rendered as a checklist. Install with the native installer. Verify with Claude Doctor. Then authenticate against your Pro, Max, Team, or Enterprise account. Read and answer the trust dialog. Run the overview prompts. Inspect what landed in context. Cycle through the 4 permission modes. None of these steps is hard. Every one of them is a place. A rushed installation skips, and every skip turns into a Claude Code is not working for me story 2 days later. Walk the checklist once with attention, and you do not have to walk it again. The very first time you run Claude in a directory, 2 things happen, and both deserve your attention. First, authentication. Claude Code requires a Pro, Max, Team, Enterprise, or Console account. The free Claude.ai plan does not include Claude Code. Second, and this is where the rule earns its keep, Claude Code asks whether to trust this directory. This is not a formality to click past. Trust gates the auto-installation of marketplace plugins and the execution of project-defined hooks. Accepting trust means files like .claude/settings, .j, sun, and .mcp.j sun take effect on your machine. Apply the rule. Date, accept trust for repositories you own. Do not accept trust for an arbitrary directory you cloned 5 minutes ago. That is exactly how a malicious project would land hooks on your machine. One foot gun, if you launch from your home directory, trust acceptance is not saved to disk, so you get the prompt every launch. Start inside a project subdirectory instead. 80. There are 3 ways to invoke Claude Code. The plain Claude command opens an interactive session, which is what you will do 95% of the time. Then when you type, Claude responds, and you keep going. D. Claude followed by a quoted prompt opens an interactive session preceded with that prompt, useful when you know exactly how to start. Claude-P for print runs a single prompt and exits with no conversation, just output. This is the form you wrap in shell scripts, GitHub Actions, or pre-commit hooks. T. When you step away mid-task, your session saves automatically. Claude-continue, or -C for short, resumes the most recent session in this directory. Claude-resume opens a picker of past sessions. AT. Then once you have more than a few sessions in a project, build one small habit. Name them. Run/rename mid-session or pass-n at launch. SAS. Future you, scrolling the picker on Monday, will present you that you left a breadcrumbs of well-named sessions. The hardest part of starting Claude Code on an unfamiliar codebase is asking the right thing first. The open-ended prompt like, tell me about this project, makes Claude read everything in sight and craters your context window. Remember the framing from part 1. Context is the operating system for an agentic coding tool. The moment you fill it with noise, the agent gets worse at everything. The middle path is a handful of bounded patterns. Then remember to ask for a one-page overview and add the load-bearing instruction. Do not read every file. Use directory listings and the readme. Ask Claude to find the files that handle some concern. List them with one-line descriptions and not read them yet. Ask for an explanation plus pointers to the 2 or 3 files worth reading deeply. Ask for the project's conventions, with the guardrail. Do not generalize beyond what you can see in the files. Finally, make one small isolated change. Watch how Claude moves. That is your real first prompt set. Let's cover those 5 prompt patterns as a mind map. Note, each one is bounded by an explicit instruction that keeps the context window lean. Overview, do not read every file. Find the files, do not read them yet. Explain, then point. Conventions, do not generalize. Small isolated change, touch nothing else. The bounded instruction is not optional decoration. It is the difference between a thoughtful 5,000 token answer and an exhaustive 50,000 token answer that pollutes the rest of your session. 5 more prompts are worth running to stretch different muscles. Ask for the slowest tests, for README improvements, for a commit summary, for obvious dead code, for unmaintained dependencies. Together, 10 prompts let you watch Claude use every category of tool it has. Most/commands you will learn over time. 5 you should know by the end of your first hour. /help lists every /command in the current session, including ones added by plugins and skills. Do not memorize commands. Memorize /help. /clear starts a fresh session in the same directory. The context window resets, your project memory reloads. Run it when you finish one task and start a different one. /context shows what is in the window right now, broken down by category with token counts. It is verification applied to the agent's own memory. /memory shows which project memory and rule files actually loaded for this session. Where /context shows what is in the window, /memory shows which of your configuration files made it in. Trashes. /rewind restores files to an earlier checkpoint with the keyboard shortcut escape twice. The first time something goes sideways and you rewind to recover instantly is when Claude Code stops feeling like an experiment. HDAC. The single most important keystroke to learn in week 1 is Shift-Tab. It cycles through permission modes, and a permission mode is how you tell Claude Code, in effect, I trust you with this much autonomy right now. There are 4 modes in the cycle. Default asks before every tool call that could change anything. It is the safest, slowest mode and where you start. Accept edits auto-approves file edits but still asks before shell commands for confident editing without a bash free-for-all. Plan mode is read only. Claude can search, read, and explore, but cannot edit or run shell commands. It is the mode for thorough investigation before touching anything. The auto mode uses a separate classifier model to review each action in the background with no interactive prompts unless something looks suspicious. When you want to switch modes, press Shift-Tab once and the status bar at the bottom of your prompt shows the current mode. Press again to advance. Let's look at the permission mode cycle as a state diagram. Default at one end, auto at the other, and accept edits and plan in between. Shift-Tab advances you through them. The muscle to build now is small but compounding. Check the status bar before you send a non-trivial prompt. Glance, decide, send. Most of your first week, you will live in default, and that is fine. The goal is not to live in auto mode from day one. The goal is to know the keystroke and the 4 modes, so that on day 3, when you are about to ask Claude to read 40 files and explain the architecture, you have the instinct to press Shift-Tab until the status bar says plan first. People who never learn that instinct spend their whole Claude Code career one approve, click at a time, wondering why everyone else moves faster. Whatever mode you choose, the loop stays the same. You send a bounded prompt. Claude gathers context and proposes an action. You verify the diff before it lands. Approve when it is right. Press escape twice and /rewind when it is not. This is the rule turned into a sequence diagram. The agent has the wheel for context gathering and proposing changes. You have the wheel for approval and recovery. The handoff between the two is the diff review. Build that handoff into muscle memory and the rest of Claude Code stops feeling unpredictable. You always know how to check the work. You always know how to undo it. That is what flying with the tool actually means. Your first hour condensed into 6 concrete moves. Install with the native installer. Skip npm unless you have a specific reason. Doctor, run Claude Doctor afterward and read its output. Log in if you only have a free Claude.ai plan. Upgrade because Claude Code is not included free. Accept Project Trust for the repo you actually own, not your home directory, and read the dialog before you click. Run the 5 overview prompts on a project you know well. Watch how Claude moves and notice what lands in context. Run /context and /memory and compare what loaded against what you expected. Surprises here are almost always fixable. Press Shift-Tab until you have seen all 4 mode names in the status bar, then return to default. That is the hour. Do it once with attention and you never have to do it again. Almost everything that goes wrong in someone's first week with Claude Code is a verification step that got skipped. An unverified install, an unread trust dialog, an approved diff nobody actually looked at, a context window nobody checked with /context. Make the rule your default posture, not a chore. Verify before you trust is not caution for its own sake. It is the habit that lets you safely hand an agent more and more autonomy over time, because you always know how to check its work and how to undo it. Next time, in part 3, we walk through the 10-minute daily routine, 3 minutes of setup, a working loop in the middle, 2 minutes of cleanup at the end. See you there.